Literally right at 1:30 she wakes up. Are you kidding me?
Right after the break.
You can't make this up.
Why are you looking at her?
All right. I believe we are live. Yes. All right. So, beautiful people of today, we are live. Today is gonna be a little different, a little bit different, but very excited about it. So, um, basically, my sister first. My sister has presented a fantastic idea about a topic that we have not touched on as much as maybe we should. And today we have somebody that definitely is an embodiment to it. So I want to make sure that we properly introduce who we have here today. So on the right, this is my sister. I may have seen her on a couple episodes or so, um, about how she paved her own way for her minor in school, which was amazing in terms of um, pass taken. And on the left, we have our cousin Cam. She, to be completely honest, you know, every time I have the time to do something, she is busy, 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 busy. Always on the go. So I will be honest, it's gonna be a nice, refreshing take to really like learn a little bit about the adult version of her. I only really got to spend a lot of time with her as when we were kids.
Little
She
kids.
was the sidekick tyrant to her
Oh,
big sister.
not sidekick tyrant.
Who
What
used
an
to
intro.
pretty much, ruin my life every time I went over to their houses.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, it was a time. It was a time. Yeah, it's funny. It's like one of those things where you know, I knew I was gonna be extremely annoyed, but I was always excited to come to y'all's house. I don't even know how that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense,
It makes so
Prince.
much
Because it
sense.
was
So
because it
much
wasn't
sense.
boring, right? Like it was always
Never boring.
Yeah.
entertaining.
You knew it was gonna be a time
It was gonna be
at
a
your
time.
Always
expense.
fun. Always fun.
Right.
It was gonna be a time,
Always
but
fun.
the fight was entertaining.
Yeah,
Um,
good stuff.
but I guess as hilarious as that is, no, I'm really really excited to definitely have you here. Oh, I just realized who's in the
Do you
chat.
see who's in here?
Yeah, that's your mom.
Wait, I don't
Oh,
see anything.
Oh, it's on the actual live, not on the
Oh,
deferred.
okay.
Yeah. So if you
Okay.
if you pull it up, you'll be able to see it on the actual screen.
Uh,
well,
What's up,
Brandon's
Aunt
gonna be the
Tori?
moderator, so he can do the comments.
How we
I don't see
doing?
them, but I'm not gonna mess with anything because I feel like I'm gonna mess something up. I
No,
don't
Girl.
see. What did she say? Hey, mom.
yeah, she's here. Uh, she just said,
That's
"Let's
funny.
do
I'm
it."
sure
We
she's
are
cracking.
here.
I'm sure she's cracking up
Yeah,
at
she
That
your
is
said that was
introduction,
hilarious.
funny,
Brandon.
talking about the craziness we used to go through as kids. But yeah, beautiful. So, um, topic today is going to be perseverance. Um, I'm not gonna speak too much about certain things I don't know, but what I do know and what from everything that I've always heard is regardless of what you're going through, which we all go through different things, but there is a certain mentality that you have to really get to a certain point that you want to get to, regardless of what's going on around you. And something I do know about Cameron and even my sister is regardless of what's going on, they're going to take care of everything that they need to do, to get where they need to be. Um, so I know Cameron wanted to talk about certain things that were specific. So I'm gonna let Alyssa kind of guide us into this here.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. So, excuse me. I know you touched on perseverance. And so to kind of build off of that, I think today's conversation is really just wanting to explore um, what it actually takes to keep going when things feel unresolved, right? And how you continue to show up for others with consistency and care in the midst of those situations. So, I guess just to start off, before we get into the nitty gritty of it, Cameron, do you have you always seen yourself as someone who perseveres, or do you feel like life kind of forced you into that role?
Wow, that's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel the latter to answer it. Short answer is I feel like life
Mhm.
has forced me to learn how to persevere, especially in the last several years. But like as a kid, I remember obviously Brandon introduced me as a tyrant, but I do remember being like a very meek child. Like I
Yeah.
remember just like being the little sister before I had a little sister and my older sister, fighting a lot of my battles and dealing with bullies in school. Like the few years we did share in the same school, like she was always kind of speaking for me, doing things for me. At home, the same situation. Like she's just like the epitome of a big sister. So, not because of her, but maybe influenced by her, I don't feel like I learned how to just persevere on my own until later in my life, like probably
Mhm.
maybe in high school, if not even college. So, yeah, I feel like very matured by certain situations in my life at a young age. Um, like pretty much from like some of my earliest memories, my dad was super sick, and I have like scary visuals of things that were going on with that. So that matured me, and we moved around a lot. So certain things in my life, I feel like pushed me forward to learn how to get through like difficult times. But like I said, magnifying glass on that in the last 2 to 3 years, I would say.
Yeah,
Okay.
God will have His own ways of how to wake you up mentally and
Yeah,
spiritually.
for sure.
Absolutely. So I know you touched on your dad, and his health, and I know he's had, kind of a complicated health history, for the majority, I would say, of our lives.
Yeah.
Um, so, navigating that over the years, like, how would you say that specific experience has shaped the way you move through your life?
Um, yeah, so just to provide a little context for the viewers who don't know my dad, me, or what he's been through, which is probably majority of people watching. Um, he basically initiated by high blood pressure, has had a series of health issues over the last 20 or so years. Um, some of my earliest memories are like one of my earliest memories is sitting on the steps in my house and hearing him faint in the hallway. So
Um,
very triggering. But I think my parents did a really good job of kind of sheltering us from the reality of what was going on at a young age. So when I believe I was in the third or the fourth grade, he got on dialysis. So his kidneys were failing again because of high blood pressure. And he was on dialysis from the time I was in the fourth grade, and he got a kidney transplant the week before I moved into my dorm at the University of Alabama. So pretty much my entire childhood that I can recall, he was on a machine 3 days a week. But I didn't like as a kid, like I said, my parents did a really good job of kind of sheltering us from what that actually meant and kept it very lighthearted for us. Like, oh yeah, daddy's going to get his medicine, that kind of thing. So it didn't feel as heavy going through it as a young child. But as I got older and become more aware of what's going on, and as things in some years worsened, like my senior year of high school was pretty bad because that's right before his transplant, and he wasn't able to come to like my recital. I grew up in competition dance. I had a solo. Like, it's this whole thing. Certain things like that. It made it more real for me. But I think just growing up with a parent that had a fragile health, um, I think it actually like brought us together as a family. Like, we're an obnoxiously close unit of five. Like, I don't know. It just in a strange way brought us closer. It makes you appreciate the people around you more. It makes you appreciate the times when they are healthy and when things aren't like not the best, I guess. Um, but yeah, as a person, I feel like it's allowed me to have more empathy for others. It's allowed me to have more gratitude for health. Like, we take a lot for granted. Waking up every day and just being able to walk and not relying on a machine for certain things, and just having your whole family around you, whether it's a holiday or birthday, like all those little moments became a lot more special to us, I think, because of the things we were experiencing with, watching him go through so much. And another thing is like he as a person, he's on the machine for 9 years, and all my friends, you guys probably can speak to this. Like, he is the most like happy-go-lucky, joking around, stupid, goofy guy. So I learned a lot from him. Like, speaking about perseverance, he was
mm,
going through so much, and he never let us see him like fall or
he was
struggle
never
through that.
here.
Like, he's one of the strongest people I know. Seriously. So I don't know. There's a positive side to that. I think just I can't speak about being a man because I'm not a man, but I think there's a pride element to that for him. Like, he didn't want his three daughters to know like the things he was struggling with. I don't know what kind of conversations him and my mom may have had behind closed doors. But I think I also from him kind of sheltering us from that, I have a tendency to not talk about things. Um,
Mm,
so I think like everything is kind of twofold. Like, there's been positives that come with it and some negative things that come with like how we move through his health. Because I think if we would have talked about it more, there could have been repercussions right then, right there. But I think I would be better at talking about difficult things and being more vulnerable about my emotions, because I kind of like push things down a lot. Um, and I don't know if I get that from him or just like our family dynamic, but yeah.
mm. So
Okay.
you're saying like kind of in a way you don't really speak about a lot of different things
Yeah.
from okay. So a
Yeah.
lot of people don't really know a lot of this that you have carried.
No, not at all. I live like I like to say I live a very happy life. I have a very vibrant social life. I have the best friends in the world. I love to travel. I keep myself busy. I work out every day. Like, I have so many joyful things happening, and I don't think people, like, I don't know, you get on Instagram and see someone's story or see what they post and you think you know somebody, but really like so
Mhm.
many people carry a lot of heavy things that you have no idea about. So I'm really good at kind of and like good, like not necessarily in a positive way, but I'm really good at like compartmentalizing things. Um and to be honest, that's a big part of how I feel like I'm able to like move forward through things, because I don't know, I don't like to dwell on what's wrong and what was me, like, oh, like it just everything sucks because if you do that, like what's going to get you out of bed in the morning, you know, like that's a part of my perseverance is just focusing on the things that I'm so grateful for in my life, even when things aren't, going my way per se.
So you're always able to focus on the things that you can appreciate regardless of what's going on.
Yeah, about maybe 3.5 years ago or so, probably around the pandemic, I started like a daily gratitude journal, and I'm not kidding you guys.
Mm,
In the last 3.5 years, I may have missed like a week total. Like I don't play about my gratitude because I feel like when you appreciate what's around you, whether it's something as simple as like a bed to sleep in, or great friends, or just health, like the little things we take for granted. Um, and I really try to focus on that. That is what keeps me going when things are getting tough, whether it's my dad or other situations. Like even my niece has had a really complicated health history.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not the kind of person to dwell in the negative, I guess. And I think that's a big part of what's allowed me to persevere through some honestly pretty traumatic life experiences.
a daily gratitude journal is amazing.
And my
Um,
favorite thing to do is go back and read them.
yes.
Like, because sometimes it feels repetitive, like, okay, yeah, thank you, God, for like breath in my body. Like it's like
Hmm.
some of the things are repetitive, but in some seasons it's just like I'm so happy to be able to sit on a patio that's my own and listen to the birds chirp and fresh spring air, like the little things,
Yeah.
you know?
So
And sometimes
even
it's like I'm grateful my dad woke up this morning because last night I wasn't sure what this day would look like. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it varies in different seasons of life. And it's one of my favorite things to do is go back and just read my journals. So
that's
yeah,
amazing. Yeah. So even when you kind of feel, or more so like in your emptier moments, you're able to kind of just go back and be like, man, no, this is amazing.
find something. Yeah, for sure.
That's really good.
That's such a golden nugget. I know.
Hmm.
You for sharing that.
Yeah,
One thing I do want to circle back on um, is how you kind of touched on the fact that you hold a lot of emotional weight quietly. Um, and I would love for you to share like something that people don't realize about carrying that ongoing emotional weight, if you
yeah.
could.
Um,
And I think
something
also
people
like,
don't realize.
I'm sorry, I think also something important might be how do you um or what chances do you have to get some of those emotions out the right way if you hold them so that you can still stay, upright mentally.
Yeah. So Brandon, I'm going to answer your question first just because something came to mind just when you said that. Like, I don't always have the space to process my own emotions, especially in the last year and a half or so. So I had to learn how to bring them to God, to be honest, so I don't drown in them.
Yeah.
Um, whether it's something like deeply personal I'm going through or that my family's going through that I have made a choice not to talk about with friends or other family members, like it's very easy to get weighed down by the, like you said, Alyssa, the emotional weight of whether it's my shit or my family shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's just
Really quick,
a
I
big.
try not to
Oh,
have the
sorry,
profanity if possible, but go ahead.
sorry. Um, yeah. I think again, going back to the pandemic, like that's a time where I had a lot of self reflection, and I think my relationship with God was really strengthened during that time in my life.
Mm.
And that's when I made a habit of going to him with a lot of the things that I would carry. And since then, a lot of those things I was carrying got heavier. So having that habit has been, I mean, that's
Yeah.
just, that's it. Like that is how I carry a lot of, and process my emotions, Alyssa, because I think that's the original question you asked. But you
Mm.
asked something about how people don't. What? Can you repeat your question? I don't know if I answered it.
Yeah, it was just if you could share something people don't realize about kind of carrying that emotional weight in silence. Like, is there something you kind of learned about yourself in doing that, or something that's come to a head, right? Like, in you doing that, that you would want to share?
Um,
I think probably the better way to say that would be um, because you've shared the daily journal, and of course, bringing those different things to God. But I guess what else do you feel, whether it's on a daily basis or only sometimes thing? What else do you try to do for yourself to, uh,
Well,
kind of?
I want her to answer that, but that's not really my question. Like, my
Okay.
question is, it's almost like a check on your strong friends, right? But like, what could you say to someone else,
Okay.
or
Okay.
what could you say for others listening in, that maybe don't kind of move that way, right?
So
But to
the
help them
people that,
empathize and understand, like, for someone who is carrying that emotional weight, for
yeah.
someone who is kind of fighting quietly, like, do you have anything um that you could kind of want to speak on as someone who does tend to do that, even though you have, like, mitigation and ways to work through your feelings?
yeah. I learned recently that faith isn't always like loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet
Mm,
obedience.
beautiful.
So I had to rely, like I said, on God daily, not for answers because they are always there. Actually, more often than not, I find that they're not there.
Yeah.
But just for endurance, like that's, I think if I had to pick a word to describe the last year and a half, it's just like endurance. Some days the prayer was simply like, Lord, just help me show up again with grace. And the weight isn't always removed. Sometimes we're strengthened to carry it. And that kind of faith is like really life altering. And you mentioned something about check on your strong friends because I think I mentioned I have the tendency to push things down and not really talk about stuff. Um, and something I'm learning is the vulnerability, like to be able to talk about difficult things. And I talk about these amazing friends and the people around me. It's okay to lean on them. You know, I think that's hard for me to do.
You're gonna make me cry. Stop. Okay. That kind of leads me to my next question. I know, there is a strength in vulnerability, right? And it's hard to be vulnerable. I don't think people realize that all the time. Um, but I know, people often lean on you. You are often a safe space and um, a source for those around you. Um, and I would love for you to kind of open up on that if you feel
Yeah,
comfortable, and kind of like the pressure that you felt to be the strong one at times.
yeah. I'm just gonna take a deep breath because what I'm about to talk about is deeply personal. Um, and how I speak about it matters to me because it involves the most important relationships in my life. And it's not something I've spoken about really to anybody outside of immediate family and very recently Alyssa. So um, I've had to tell myself that I'm not oversharing, I'm testifying. And I wanted to speak on this after I prayed about it because I wanted to speak from healing and not hurt or resentment or frustration, which over the last year and a half are all emotions that I have felt at one point or another. And I hope that in taking a step of vulnerability that it brings comfort to somebody else. So in July of 2024, my parents experienced an unexpected displacement. Um, so they ended up having to live with me for about 16 months, which sounds really crazy to say because it felt like a long time. But when you think about 16 months, like, wow, that's a long time. And just to paint the picture for viewers who don't know me or my family, I live in Atlanta in like a 900 square foot apartment. So um, uncomfortable would be a light way to put it. So the experience kind of reshaped my understanding of responsibility and faith and resilience and perseverance, which are all the things that we're talking about. And emotionally, mentally, spiritually, it was super heavy navigating being a daughter, but also like a homemaker in a sense to my parents, which I don't think is something a lot of children experience very often. And maybe they do. Like, again, it's not something I've talked about. So maybe it's not as niche of an experience as it felt like to me. But the hardest part was still trying to navigate like my own young adult life. Um, with having my parents in my space. Many days I felt like stretched beyond what I thought I could carry. And I never talked about it. So it gets a lot heavier when, like we talked about before, you're not getting those emotions out with anybody like in the flesh. Like, of course, me and God are locked in, but there's some of the emotions and the things that I felt like my parents couldn't even understand because you have to be sensitive to the fact that what they're going through is also very traumatic. And as
Mm-hmm.
much as I don't want this to be my reality, they probably don't want it even more. Like,
Right.
you know, so I have an older sister and my little sister. They're like the closest people to me in my life. But even how each of us experienced this event was very different. And nobody was in my shoes of being like the home for my parents. My sister has a family of her own. You know, she has 3 kids and one on the way, a husband. Like, there are certain things that she couldn't emotionally carry that automatically fell on me. And as a middle sister, I think I mentioned before, like my older sister being such an older sister and in a sense of like always kind of catching stuff for me or being a role model so I didn't have to go through certain things. Like, this is
Yeah.
one of the very few times in my life where it hit me first, because where are they to go when there's
Right.
nowhere else to go? You know what I mean? And then my little sister is in college at the time, wrapping up her senior year. So that affected her in a different way, just being away from home and knowing the like turmoil that was going on in your home life. And then also graduating from college and coming back home to that level of uncertainty. Like, that's not something that me or my older sister experienced. So she had a niche experience. I had a niche experience, and my older sister did as well. So it just, um, it was really difficult. It changed the way, it changed my routines. Like, I'm a very routine person. Um, like, I'm very structured in the morning. I do XYZ, I work out, I sit on my counter, and I like to do my morning gratitude. I like to make my coffee in silence and, have slow mornings easing into my day. It looked very different with my parents on my couch, you know what I mean? And even working from home looked very different with sharing such a small space with not just somebody else, but your parents. Like, it was a very uncomfortable situation. Um, there was also a part of me that was hard on myself because you hear, oh yeah, my mom and dad live with me. There's a part of me that like wanted my reality to be different. Like, I wish I had a 5-bedroom house to where they would never have to worry about their own bed again. Like, I wanted to be that for them, but because of my current circumstances, it was in a very like uncomfortable space. And what I wanted them to understand is like, it's not me being here for you guys that's difficult. It's the circumstances of like the living space, and I wish that things were different because I would want nothing more than to give them the peace of not having to worry about certain things again. And it was hard on me because I'm already hard on myself, and I'm like 28, thinking I should be having my life figured out, and I'm trying to through therapy understand that like it's a journey and like it's gonna ebb and flow, and there's no such thing as having it all figured out. But being hard on myself, like, oh, I'm like, I'm not married, I don't have a family, I don't have a house, and then this entering my life, like it was difficult from that angle too, and that's something I don't think that a lot of people understood. Um, One other thing I want to touch on before, like, if you guys have questions, like, we can take a pause. But I had to learn that boundaries can coexist with compassion, um, because it got to a certain point where I was just like, I can't, like, I feel like a stranger in my own home. Like the walls are closing in on me. I don't know how to navigate this. So I did lean on my older sister. I'm like, hey, like, can I at least have my weekends? Can you open up your home for 3 days for them so that I can like have some sense of normalcy? Because like I said, it changed the way I move in my life. Like I couldn't just on a
Yeah.
Wednesday night have if my friends down the street at dinner wanted to swing by for a glass of wine, like I have to engineer how I can have my space for an hour so somebody could do that. It changed the way I date. Like there was somebody I was dating at the time that I didn't feel comfortable sharing such intimate details about what was going on with my family. And in that relationship, I was trying to navigate trust and honesty, and I felt like a fraud for like basically living a double life. So there's relationships that I had to end because of it. And again, that was a choice I made. I could have talked more openly about what was going on, and I'm sure people would have understood or had grace for me. But it's a choice that I'm made not to, and so yeah, it's difficult. Like I said, we're a really close family, so it challenged me in a way I wasn't prepared for because, like on any given day, there's not really a day I don't want to be around them or spend time with them. Um, So to just be constantly in each other's space was difficult. Um, because you don't want to be like ungrateful, like, gosh, there's people who probably wish their parents were on this earth. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
My parents wish their parents were here so they could do this for them. And so I tried to practice the gratitude of like, God, thank you for my parents still being here. Um, thank you that I have the space to even be a place of refuge for them because, even a year prior to this happening, I was in a studio apartment in Buckhead. Like it wouldn't have been livable. So, I have this apartment that's more spacious, not ideal for the situation, but it allowed me to be there for them in one of the most vulnerable points in their life. So for that, I again circling back to gratitude, like try to find the gratitude in it. But it was definitely difficult. Definitely difficult.
mm. That is amazing for you to speak on, and still circle. Like the very last thing you say is the most positive thing you can find. Uh, I think that's literally the embodiment of how perseverance happens because you're figuring out how to navigate such a tough situation and still find the positives to keep going through the situation. Like, as again, throughout all, like, as you're crying, you're still talking about how much it was on you, but still appreciating it so much that you still have your parents, the love for your family, like um, yeah, that that is amazing in the sense, um, especially with, like you said, having a relationship, dating, and then the mental toll that it took on that, to where,
Yeah.
you really didn't have the space mentally, uh, for that to be right.
or
And then
physically.
even on the fact of like recognizing that, not dragging it along or feeling like you
Yeah.
were um just really prioritizing the time that you had while you were going through that. It's just, yeah. I mean, that's amazing to hear.
It
Um,
also really humanized my parents for me. Like,
Yeah.
um,
wow,
like
yeah.
my mom specifically, like she's just like a figure it out kind of lady. Like she's always gonna figure out how we're gonna have presents under that tree, no matter what's going on. Like she's Mrs. Make It Happen. So to be in a situation where they truly like fell on their face with nowhere else to go, but to me, um, and even like my dad, like I mentioned before, like going through all his health issues and not vulnerably speaking about a lot of the things he was going through. Like I kind of super villain, like I kind of Superman, Superwoman, my parents growing
Hmm.
up. Like they could really do no wrong. And I still feel that way, but it's like, wow, like they're human. Like life is happening to them too. And they're trying to figure it out too, just like I
Yeah.
am. Like I don't think the like that feeling of completion or like you've figured it out, like I'm not sure that's something anybody ever arrives to as a parent. So like I said, like it just really humanized them for me. Like I sat here in so much frustration and some days and I just look at them like, wow, like this is happening to them too. So
Mhm.
um yeah.
One thing I wanted to circle back on, Cameron, is excuse me, you said that, when conversing with Alex, that kind of helps support you reaching boundaries with compassion.
Hmm.
And I would love for you to kind of discuss what that looked like for you guys and how that changed things in your experience.
Yeah, gosh, boundaries. I could talk about a lot of things. I mean, boundaries in the four walls of my home. Like I'm a little bit of a freak when it comes to like certain things, like going to sleep with the kitchen clear,
Yes.
the sink not having a dish in it, like um, making my
Oh
bed
my
every
god,
morning.
and
Like
your dad is so
certain,
not like that. That's so
yeah.
funny.
So it was like kind of like when you have a roommate in college, which I did have a roommate for a few years, but also the last year and a half of college, I lived by myself. So not only was this a lot, it was like I'm very used to being by myself. I moved home after college for about a year and a half to save money. Then I immediately got a studio apartment by myself, and then I moved to this. Like I'm used to being by myself. I'm used to doing things my way. I'm used to having my space the way I like it. So the conversations were a little hard to navigate because it's like they're my parents still. I can't be like,
Yeah.
why didn't you do the dishes? You know what I'm saying? Like that's odd. That's an odd thing to say. You can't approach it that way. But it's like, hey guys, this is like what keeps my mind mentally clear on any normal day, but especially in a season like this where I literally feel like the walls are closing in on me. Like we have to make sure that this is happening every night, or that we take our shoes out. Like we don't wear shoes in the house. Like it was hard to navigate those conversations with my parents because I'd never want to like
Make
it's
them feel
like
uncomfortable.
teeter
yeah,
tottering the respect line.
yes, the respect line.
Yeah.
I didn't want to like make them feel like less than. And there was times when I failed at that. Like to be honest and vulnerable, there was really difficult days where like that ended in screaming arguments, or my dad's walking out in tears because it's something I could have said in a more sensitive way. It
Yeah.
wasn't always very easy, but I feel like um it taught me that God can use like this disruption and really difficult moments to build intimacy with family. Like I feel like we've always been very close, but through this situation, like we all went through that together as a unit of five in very different, unique ways, but we went through that together. And it, in a very strange way, like brought us closer together. With regards to my sister, to answer your question, Alyssa, it had been maybe 6 months of just like constant, like this was home base, right? So I was like, look, until the circumstances change where like God willing, we know it's going to happen when the circumstances will change. Like we have to have a balancing, dancing act of supporting them. Like I physically can't have it all on me anymore. And, her home life doesn't support having them there 24/7 either. So we just, as sisters, had to talk about how we were going to support each other in a way that made them not feel like a burden and unwanted, because those were feelings they were dealing with as well. Like if I'm like, hey, like I just need the weekend to just do what I want in my home, or maybe have somebody over, like, or maybe have a girls' night with my friends. Like it was hard for them to understand um,
I
that
see.
that had
Mhm.
nothing to do with them. It was about me and like what I needed. So
Yeah,
me and my older sister were able to kind of come to a compromise with regards to like essentially having my weekends. And like I mentioned, she has 3 kids, one of which is, um, you know, um, gosh, I was trying to find the words. My niece is, she's on home health. She is home health. She has a brain tumor or a tumor on her spine, so she's nonverbal. And my sister has a lot going on herself. But in that, me needing a break, it also, like, my parents were able to be there for her in a way that she needed it, like help with the kids or just extra hands around the house. Like there's things that she needed. Like it was a push and a pull. It wasn't like them 100% leaning on us. Like there was times when they did things for me and they really showed up for my sister as well. So as with regards to boundaries, like we're able to find like that balancing act of both supporting them in ways that worked for us. And it took a lot of the weight off of me for those last few months, just knowing I could look forward to having 3 or 4 days where I could move in my space the way I wanted to, or have friends over and do certain things that like during the week I know I couldn't do. So yeah, it was definitely difficult. It was easy with my sister and I figuring out like how we were gonna do that. But again, like on Friday, come Friday and it's like 3 p.m. and I'm like, I have plans at 4 or something like that, just to throw out a silly example. Um, it was difficult. Like you don't want to be like mom and dad, like, can you leave? Like, you know what I mean? Like those conversations were really difficult sometimes. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
it did. Brennan, do you have anything? Do you want to ask?
So I wanted to make sure that that was everything because there was so much power um, that I heard into everything. Um, that so I mean, to be honest, a lot of people mentally aren't able to, like you said, compartmentalize to where they can really separate things that far out because as we talked about in the beginning, you know, it's I want to make sure that it's like a real point of you have people that like to go out sometimes or do certain things or every now and again, you know, from what I know, you know, Cameron is someone that is on the move all the time. So that is not it's it's a different in adjustment from someone that's honestly really a homebody compared to
Exactly.
somebody
Yeah.
that's really, really, really like out and about trying to do different things. You know, get to other levels. Mentally, spiritually, financially, to where you know you have. Yeah, I mean, literally
Oh yeah.
life. Go ahead.
It was hard, like to your point, Brayden, it was hard to have personal goals and like keep moving forward through that. I grieved our sense of normal in moments where like so many days I was like, God, like I wish we could just be like a normal family again. And there was some days where I feel like it was like stealing a lot of my joy, but I had to like quickly dead those feelings because
Mm,
again, there were so many blessings in that storm.
Yeah.
But every emotion felt bigger. Like if one little small thing happened at work, it like derailed my whole day because I was carrying so much.
mm,
But like I said, like focusing on the gratitude and all the things I was grateful for and just wanting to maintain a sense of like vibrancy in my life kept me going. Like there were hard weeks and hard months for sure, but it was just like I know this is gonna end and it'll be a thing of the past one day. So let me just move through it with grace, like for the people around me, especially my family, but also like navigating working and just like my platonic friendships and for the the few months where I was in a relationship with someone like dating, it was like carrying all those emotions and not like having an outlet for them. It did make every emotion feel a lot bigger.
mm.
Um, but yeah, I just want to say, like, for the viewers, if someone is carrying the family weight of any kind in silence, whether it's like sickness or something oddly specific like this or something else, like, you're not weak for not wanting to talk about that. Like I said, I wanted to speak on this in a past tense way because I wanted emotion to be well, obviously emotion isn't very removed from it, but like certain emotions like the frustration and the hurt, I wanted to speak on it from a place of healing. So like I've talked a lot about a vulnerability and not speaking on certain things and pushing emotions down as a weakness, but it is powerful to um, take time to go through things before you speak on them. And it doesn't make you weak as long as you do have an outlet, whether it's a gratitude journal or talking to God or taking a walk or anything that works for you. It may not be what works for me that works for you, but um, I did want to highlight that. And also just like circling back to my dad being sick for a majority of my life, through this 16 months of my parents living with me, it took a toll on his health. He didn't have a bed to lie in. He's sleeping on my couch. So for somebody who struggles with fluid retention and kidney issues and is entering year 10 with a kidney transplant, it was physically very hard on his body. And during this time, like the last 6 to 7 months of the 16 months, I was watching him decline. Um, he was in and out of the hospital. So dealing with the emotions of just everything we've talked about on top of your dad still not being healthy, it was like impossible.
Yeah.
And after my dad got the kidney transplant, we had so many blissful years with regards to his health that felt so much lighter for us. Like, oh, dad's going to the gym. Like, he's able to pick his grandson up and run around. Like, he's going up and down the steps and not winded. Like, we had a solid 7 to 8 years where it was just like, God, just thank you because he's so much better. And then things got worse again. So when I was younger, dealing with a lot of his health issues, I used to have like these terrible nightmares that were like crippling to the point where I couldn't even sleep in my own bed. Like I would sleep on the couch in the living room because it was close to their room and I was just like so worried all the time. So being in my own space and watching him get sick again is like brought back terrible nightmares to the point where like some nights like I wasn't sleeping at all. Just sitting up in my bed and they're out here and had no idea. Again, I wasn't even talking about it because we're already burdened with so much. Like I didn't want to make it worse. But um it was difficult, like watching him decline again, and there was no separation. If they were at their house and I'm at mine, it's a lot easier to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm okay," or not get into the nitty gritty details of what's going on. But like, no, I see you walking down the hall with groceries, out of breath. Like, I know something's not right. So that was difficult. The return of the nightmares and just struggling with um, the frustration of having to house my parents, but also like my dad being sick. Like it's just so many complex emotions and layered emotions that I think is really hard for anybody to understand. It's just like very specific to our family and in the situation that we're going through. But my dad was in and out of the hospital, and for the last, I mean, he for the last 4 months he spent. I mean, he didn't leave the hospital, and then he had to go to a rehab facility. And thank God, I'll share the testimony that he's home for the holidays and he's doing much better. Um, but it was like him going to the hospital. And it's like, oh my God, like I just hope he's okay. But also this weird feeling of like relief that he doesn't have to tiptoe around my bathroom of like, when do I
Yeah.
shower? Because we're sharing a shower. Like certain things, it's like the weirdest emotions of like, gosh, I don't want him to be there. I want him to be better. But am I wrong for feeling a sense of relief that now it's just me and my mom and he doesn't have to struggle with, like, honestly, on all of us, it may have been the hardest on him. He's a man, like with three
Yeah.
daughters and a wife, it was is impossibly difficult for him too. So it was just a lot of layered emotions with regards to like him getting sick again and no longer being in this space because he was at the hospital. There were so many nights me and my mom just sat on the floor like bawling, crying. It's like, this is crazy. Like you can't make this stuff up. But you know, it just God doesn't, nothing is wasted in his plan. I'll put it that way. Everything, I truly believe that everything happens for you. And an anchoring scripture for me during all this was Romans 8:28, for we know that for we know that God causes all things to work together for his good for those that love him and are called according to his purpose. Like that kept me going on every single day because I knew this has a purpose. Like I don't know what this is going to look like in 6 months. I'd never, when it started, imagined it happening for as long as it did. Um, but there is purpose in the pain. So I guess I'll just put that out there for any viewers who are in the middle of a storm that they feel like it's not going to end. You don't know when it's going to end, but it will end, and God will definitely use your pain for purpose for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, from what it sounds like, with the type of gratitude that you were able to build through that situation, you it sounds like the strength you thought you had has definitely been amplified. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
that that
for
is
sure.
one huge takeaway from me hearing all of this. The other thing is, I love that you pull gratitude from it because it's always that aspect of knowing like a lot of, and this is something that it literally took me till um I was a parent to understand, but it's so hard to navigate that type of space that you were in because you obviously know that you know they did what they had to do to raise you guys for, we're not talking about 16 months, but you
Right,
know
a lifetime.
20, right, literally a lifetime as you guys come in from it's not, we're not talking about 18 years because then you come along
Yeah,
and then Kennedy comes
yeah.
along, and they had to do what they could for you guys to be okay. And all three of you guys are great. So I mean, it's just like you
So
have to harp on that, knowing that they did
they're
as
a big one.
as great
Yeah.
as they could do to produce people that really contribute to this world.
Oh,
Um, so
yeah,
that's a huge thing to make sure that we all know, from the parent side of things, um,
yeah.
where you were really able to, I think, see that from a little bit of their perspective in a weird way.
In a very,
Um,
very strange way.
yeah,
It's like the sacrifices that you make for the people you love. Like I won't fully understand that until I have kids of my own one day, hopefully. But there is a lot of unseen sacrifices in parenthood. And although they're my parents and not the other way around, it was like a weird taste of just sticking yourself out for others, like Alyssa said, just like extending grace and being there. Um, yeah, that's a good point, Brandon. It was it's strange. I don't think it's you think about your parents getting older and you want to be there for them. Like I said, I wish that I had a home where it wouldn't have mattered as much as far as the space of it all, because who doesn't want to kind of return what they've done for us. Because what a
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice to be a parent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They've done more than, I mean, I don't know, we know what our parents do for us. So I don't know.
I
It's
think that's the point
definitely,
though, Cameron,
yeah,
right? Like it would have been different if this happened when you felt more established,
yeah,
right? Like I think that's the entire point. Like part of this was so disruptive because you are at a period in your life where you're trying to build and you're trying to make roots and meet someone that you would want to start a family with
yeah,
and do all of those things, right? So um the timing is relevant.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's definitely gonna help you appreciate all the things that come in the future, for sure.
yeah. I think
So,
so.
so I think that's a good space to close. Yes, the process. This is always a marathon, and your mentality has to be right to understand that. I think that is the biggest thing about perseverance to continue to push through because you always have to have the mindset of knowing it's a marathon. The reason that people get harped on certain things that happen um, is, they trip over that hurdle and fall and hit their face, and whatever they go through mentally from that in terms of embarrassment or shame or uh, even physical hurt of not being able to get back up, you know,
Hmm.
instead of thinking about, well, I mean, there is another 20 miles to go. I might be able to just get up and get it going.
Yeah,
But that is a huge part of knowing that you have to continue to keep, get up and keep running
yeah,
because, yeah, I mean, I know all of us probably have people in our lives that we can look at and wish they didn't necessarily harp so hard on certain things um, because I'm not going to say there's a lot of time wasted, but there's a lot of time that you don't get back when,
And energy.
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Time, energy, yes, all of
I
that. It's not
mean,
coming back.
So,
said a word.
yeah, the only thing
Yeah,
that we can focus on is our. I keep going back to this. It's so good, but that daily gratitude is
yeah.
very
It sounds
very.
so like cliche and like, oh my God, you open a notebook and write. Thank you for like water. Yeah, but yeah, when you're going through stuff like this, it helps put things in perspective. And like, I don't want to just move through life and not be living. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm,
I don't know. It helped me. I don't
and
know.
there's
It's just
so many
the
people out
core.
here that are
Yeah,
like. I think one of the best uh, quotes that I've heard is like, you know, surviving is not the hardest part. Is really keeping your hope alive.
yeah, living. Yeah,
Yeah. So
for sure.
with that, I definitely want to thank you for that incredible vulnerability. Um,
Yeah.
but
And
I'll.
thank you because, like I said, I have people very close to me in my life, like Alyssa, who is like a sister to me, who I didn't even talk to about this. So I always knew I wanted to talk about it and share in hopes to help someone else. And I never knew how I was going to do that or on what platform. So thank you for giving me the platform to talk about this. It's been emotional, but very like cleansing and healing for me. So I appreciate you, Alyssa, for thinking of me and Brandon for giving me the platform to talk about it.
Of course, it was definitely a pleasure to hear the way that you, um, navigate and continue to navigate all the different things that you have gained and to learn the importance of how important these different things are now that you've started it in terms of the daily journal. Like
Yeah,
that's a certain situation where you're probably gonna stick to that for the
Forever.
until you get a better
So I can't write no more.
right, yeah, until you find a better way to
Okay.
do it that's more
Yeah.
fulfilling.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that is gonna keep you tried and true on the way that you approach the rest of uh, everything that you want to pursue. So it's
Yeah.
like you said, it's all on purpose. So
Absolutely.
um, yeah. So I think that will conclude everything. Have you guys got anything else?
I just have one quick thing. There's scripture that says like everything good is from the Lord. And one thing that was just so apparent throughout this conversation is, like your mental fortitude, Cameron, and your perception. And that's not to invalidate the times, when you did have quote unquote negative emotions, but um, sometimes it's hard for us to recognize what is good when our perception is off. So I just really wanted to say, outside of the gratitude journal, like just understanding, even if it's a difficult circumstance, like there is good in it. And that is still a gift from God is so important
Hmm.
and so big. And um, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, I just respect you so much and I love you so much.
Oh,
So
love you.
really, really proud of you. And I'm really happy that you were strong today and vulnerable today. And the audience doesn't know this, but we're going to see each other tomorrow. So looking forward to that too.
Cousin reunion.
Yes.
Yay.
WRU. All right.
But that's all.
All right. Love you guys. I will see
Love you
y'all
guys.
Love
See you
you.
tomorrow.
See
Bye.
everybody in chat. Thank you again.